One small mistake, a single miscalculation, and disaster unfolds. Welcome to the podcast that uncovers how human errors, oversights, and misjudgments have led to some of history's biggest failures. I'm Eckhard Jan, and this is Error 1. Today we're talking about one of the most dramatic aviation incidents in history, the story of United Airlines Flight 232 that suffered a catastrophic engine failure mid-flight and barely made it to Sioux City. On July 19, 1989, United Airlines Flight 232 was a routine passenger flight from Denver, Colorado to Chicago, Illinois. There were 296 people on board. The aircraft was a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, known for its three-engine design. During cruise flight at 37,000 feet over Iowa, the number 2 engine located at the tail of the aircraft suddenly suffered a catastrophic malfunction. But this wasn't just an engine failure. When the fan disc inside the engine exploded, it sent shrapnel flying through the tail section, damaging all 3 hydraulic systems. This meant the pilot lost control over key flight control surfaces like the rudder, elevators, and ailerons. In aviation terms, they had lost nearly all ability to steer the aircraft. Captain Al Haynes and his crew faced an unimaginable challenge, landing a plane that was barely controllable. Normally, hydraulic systems allow pilots to move the control surfaces with ease. Without them, they were left with only one option: differential thrust. By increasing and decreasing power to the 2 remaining wing-mounted engines, they could make limited directional changes. With the aircraft in distress and the pilots fighting to keep it flying, the alarm rang at the National Transportation Safety Board headquarters in Washington. Today I have the absolute privilege to talk to one of the lead investigators of this dramatic accident. Today I'm talking to Bob Macintosh. Bob has been with the Air Force for 22 years, went on to work with manufacturing aviation products, has been with General Aviation, switched then to commercial airlines working in corporate safety, and has been working for more than 22 years for the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB. Due to his vast experience, he was immediately assigned to the Major Accident Division as an investigator. Bob, I'm delighted to have you on this podcast show, so happy welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I always enjoy pursuing the safety aspects of our aviation business, and certainly Sioux City and 232 gives us lots of opportunity for meaningful improvements. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Can you take us back to the moment you first learned about the crash of Flight 232? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, I certainly can, because it was a momentous one for me. I had just finished the job of report writing for the Aloha Airlines zip-top accident out in Hawaii, and was taking a couple of weeks in the office to take care of the paperwork when my boss, the director of major investigations and the safety board, came in and said, quick, come over to my office. We've got a call from the FAA comm center, and they've got a United aircraft DC-10 and with control problems. And I went over to the office of Ron Sleed and my boss and Terry Armentrout, our director, and they were huddled around the speakers and so on and so forth. And we were listening to an unfolding of the air traffic management of this distressed airplane. And it didn't take us long to figure out that this was the airplane had an explosive decompression of some sort. It had an engine problem, and it had lost all its hydraulics. And the aircraft had some difficulty explaining to the ground people that there was no hydraulics, and the flight controls were no longer viable. But I recall Terry Armentrout, the director, saying, "Bob, do you think you can handle this one?" I said, "Yeah, it looks like it's going to be mine." And he said, "You better get home and get moving because we need to get the team out to Sioux City." So I departed without before the airplane had even crashed, and was met with a couple of my colleagues from engines and structures. We were all headed for a quick bag pickup and out to the DCA airport, to Ronnie Reagan Airport, where we would use an FAA airplane to get out to Sioux City immediately. Unfortunately, when we assembled at the FAA hangar, we found out their Gulfstream was out of service for maintenance, and they'd found a Coast Guard crew and a Coast Guard airplane, a turboprop airplane that goes about as half the speed of the FAA's airplane. But on the other hand, that just was going to get us to Sioux City in about a 4.5 hour, 5 hour flight. So we were waiting for the flight crew to come. We're now down in the bowels of the FAA hangar, and there's a TV set there, and I personally see the airplane crash in Sioux City. So this is another unique experience. First, getting advance notice there's going to be a crash, then then finding out that you can visually see the whole thing happen, and as an experienced investigator, when you see one happen to the degree that happened in Sioux City, you're thinking about you're not thinking about any survivors, and this was going to be a sad situation, but that's the way it was, and we went out and got on the airplane headed for Sioux City with that notion in mind, and as we were en route somewhere around Indiana, maybe Illinois, the flight crew called and said, "Hey, we just tuned into a local radio station as we're passing by, and they say that Sioux City has mounted a huge effort for 180 people who survived this airplane accident." And we're saying, "No, that's impossible." And I turned to Jim Burnett, the board member that was going with us, and I said, "Jim, sounds impossible." And he said, "Well, let's go see what happened." And we got out to Sioux City about 1 o'clock in the morning. I sent all the people on the airplane to skedaddle to hotel and motel rooms and credit and rental cars and things to get ready for an organizational meeting in the morning. But I took the time to go look at what I had seen as the runway contact and so on. And as I drove around with some of the rescue persons from the fire department, I found just a mountain of papers blowing around and bits and pieces of installation and so on and so forth, and bodies lying in the on the runway covered up with sheets, and a huge smoking chunk of fuselage of a DC-10 smoking away in a cornfield. And over on one side of the runway 22, there was a tail section, and the tail section had the last couple of rows of passenger compartment in it, right where the rear doors are. Looked up at that and just couldn't believe that all the scatter that had taken place in the airfield. but it made an impression on me I've never forgotten. I quickly went and joined my colleague Bob Benson, who was there to help me with the major investigation organization, and he had a little motel room with a couple of double beds, and bunked in there for a couple hours and got ready for the morning organizational meeting. An organizational meeting is a really, really important part of what's going to happen during an investigation. You've got a lot of people heading for the wreckage, and nobody needs to be swinging from the wreckage until they've checked in first. And you check in with an organization that's a tried and true investigation, and it's run by an investigator in charge. And in this case, it was me. So I had my task laid out for me. I went to the convention center of Sioux City, where the city fathers and the rescue people and so on had already prearranged a great place for us to go to work. And we assembled about 130 people that all had some sort of a vested interest in how this investigation was going to be conducted. And they wanted to check in and get in various groups that would be effectively managing the activities of an investigation. So this is the way my day started with that investigation. How I first learned and how I managed to get into the idea of having my day planned with a crew that was already assembled, and it was unbelievable that we had United Airlines people, engine people, everybody was there and ready to go to work. So that's how we started.
Yeah, if I understood you correctly, the airplane, the United Airlines DC-10 was still in the air when you first heard about it, and then seeing on TV that it crashed, then learning during the flight, during the transfer to Sioux City, that there were still survivors. So it was really starting the investigation sort of on the fly, if I understood you correctly.
It was such a change in the way we normally are advised of accidents and the first arrival at a scene. This was so totally different that we were involved in this whole thing in real time, from almost just a few minutes after the aircraft declared an emergency.
Wow, really amazing. So, what were the biggest challenges in gathering evidence for this accident to investigate it?
Well, as I alluded to a moment ago, organization of an investigation of this size uh, presents its challenges. You just don't go out and start poking around and taking a few notes and a few photographs. There's a set organization that's been in existence in the NTSB and in worldwide accident investigation almost from the onset, and you organize for efficiency of the people that you're going to have conducting serious evaluation of evidence and so on. So after the crash fire rescue people have controlled the scene and gotten it under control sufficiently as to be non-injurious to the rest of the investigation group, they turn it over to the investigator in charge and the people that are going to be moving. So I had this group of about 130 people that we need to charge with their specialties and line them up so that somebody from our staff and to the government staff, the FAA staff, the air traffic people, the manufacturing people, the airline people, they all had set duties to perform in a straight line organization, and we just needed to identify them all and get them out there so that we could start evaluating evidence. And the evidence was presenting major problems because it was scattered for a mile down the unused runway that the airplane had crashed on. It was buried in cornfield. There was 8 feet of corn in Iowa by that time in July, and here was a DC-10 fuselage. One wing was still attached. The other wing had come off on contact. There was a huge piece of tail. Getting all those the scatter of that debris and finding the deceased people and getting them cleared into a proper channel for autopsies and so on was mightily important. And at the same time, my survival factors chairperson Nora Marshall, she was looking at the desire to interview 180 people who were scattered around in a couple of hospitals and a dormitory from a college overlooking the accident scene. So those are the challenges that were presented with that first organizational meeting, and we adjourned about 10 o'clock and took off with out to the airport.
So what I learned from the investigation report that the engine, the tail-mounted engine, the engine number 2, was a major cause for this accident, or where it all started with. And how long did it take for you to find out that this was one of the main reasons for the disaster unfolding? And how long did it take to find the crucial evidence for this engine, this uncontained engine failure, actually?
Well, I will tell you that in the first 30 minutes or less of looking at that tail section where the engine had the rotor, the main fan is located along with with all the propulsion things. It didn't take very long to figure out that was going to be the origin of our root cause of our issue with the airplane, because we could see that it had sprayed debris in the horizontal stabilizer compartments that housed the hydraulic system, and it was a scatter pattern of damaging debris that the main source, which we knew was the fan rotor, number 1 compressor fan, it wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And all those fan blades. This is an object with about an 8-foot diameter, and it's not there. But when it came out of that airplane, it left a lot of witness marks in all the attach points and all the passage of other parts of the airplane in the tail as it departed. And we proceeded without the direct evidence of that explosion, literally explosion, for about almost 3 months. We used the circumstantial evidence of witness marks and so on and so forth until the discovery. We were certainly looking for that fan and trying to figure out how big it would be, and we even dropped a simulated fan out of a helicopter to see if it would bury itself in a cornfield. We did all the things that we could to try and find it, and it took a farmer to find it with a combine. So that's how we eyeballed the scene and managed to start gathering the technical necessities of an investigation.
Did the engine manufacturer even provide some award, some money to finding this fan disc?
The engine manufacturer was not ignorant to the situation. In fact, his desire to ensure the quality integrity of his product were such that he wanted to put his they wanted to put their hands on the parts. And Mr. John Mooring, the vice president of engineering of General Electric, worked with his staff to quickly offer a bounty of $50,000 for anybody that could bring in that part. And we had a motorcycle a group from California and a couple of others that started to attack the cornfields of Iowa, and the state police managed to turn them around pretty quickly, and we proceeded in a more orderly way. But there was a necessity to find it, not for the absolute cause, but for the preclusive safety activities that we were going to do as a result thereof the failure. And that's what the General Electric Company and the Boeing, the McDonnell Douglas Company and the FAA wanted to look at. And our metallurgist, Jim Wildy, he had bits and pieces out of the tail, but he wanted the big one.
Hmm.
So that's how we motivated ourselves.
So lucky for the farmer who found this Fandis in his field, right? He got the award of 50,000.
Well, I'll tell you, that was a lady, and
Okay.
we have a lot of lady farmers in Iowa, and she was driving a combine, and the combine had a clevis pin in it, and it broke, and she recognized she'd hit something, got out, and recognized right away this was airplane part.
Okay.
And she ran over to her nearby home and called the authorities, and we all descended on that find, which was about 60 miles outside of Sioux City. In a little town of Alta, Iowa, tiny little town that became very famous for those of us that look for parts, because she found both pieces of the engine of the disc that had separated in half, and many of the blades. And I think she got paid $1,000 for each blade. Now, she was a very Christian woman, and I guarantee you, her church did very well with the dividend.
Okay. Well, lucky for her, and good that she found it and not the California motorcyclists. Okay, but what was so crucial? This titanium fan disc. What was it so crucial? What was the root cause, or what I call the error one with the system? What broke really actually, which started all this error chain that led to this disaster?
Well, we had we studied the manufacture of titanium thoroughly to understand that titanium has in its melting and refractory process can have an inclusion. It just like a cake mix that maybe has flour that doesn't get mixed into the batter. And so we were reasonably sure that the way the damage had taken place with this rotating disc of a fan flying apart, it must have come apart in a couple of pieces, and there ought to be some evidence that we can attribute to perhaps an inclusion, and this was the case. So we wanted that disc. We, the collective group, wanted that disc to see how we could analyze that inclusion and figure out why it hadn't been discovered in the multiple inspections that the part was given over its lifetime. because we've figured out that there were probably about 6 inspections of that part that had not detected that it was cracking and that it was going to eventually probably come apart at a high rotational speed. So the root cause was this inclusion of foreign material in the titanium structure.
What I learned from the investigation report that there supposedly be already been before the accident, before it was torn apart and broke, there was a half an inch of crack already in the fan disc. Why was the crack of this fan disc undetected for so long? And particularly, what does it tell us about metal fatigue in aviation?
Well, I think we have to understand the human factor of non-destructive investigation and testing. It's a little bit like the general practitioner looking at the human body and trying to figure out if there's some terrible defects that are developing in the body. In this case, non-destructive investigation included spraying the part with a fluorescent oil compound, allowing that oil compound to soak into the possible cracks, and then using an ultraviolet light, see if you could see some debris and fluorescence that might be retained by a crack. And you do this in a inspection booth with a lot of other parts, and this thing is hundreds of pounds heavy. Consequently, you're trying to look at the underside, the backside, the little crevices and things that are in this fan disc, and the effectiveness of that process turned out to be improper. We all thought that non-destructive in testing was appropriate, but it turned out, since we have the results, that that fluorescent penetrant was present in that crack, and it was simply not picked up by the investigator who was there as the non-destructive testing evaluator. So
You mean the maintenance guy who was
the
doing the
maintenance,
testing?
and we call him a maintenance guy, and that's an interesting nomenclature because these fellows are so well trained. It's hard to believe that this was missed so many times by so many professional inspectors, but that did take place. And it proves the human factor inability to detect everything the way from the expectations of the manufacturer and of the FAA and of the airline. It was pretty sad.
Talking about human factors, coming to crew performance and survival factors. Now, the uncontained engine failure damaged so much vital components of the DC-10 that even 3 hydraulic lines broke apart and weren't usable anymore. So the controlling the airplane without hydraulics was really an extraordinary issue which can't be trained. So what is your perspective on the crew handling of the situation, and what stood out about the response of the flight crew?
Well, I think if we're looking at a lot of things here, and one of them is the outstanding performance of this crew. In the first probably 10 or 15 seconds, they reiterated that they knew they'd had an explosive event in the back of the tail, and then the flight engineer shortly thereafter was recognized that was losing hydraulic quantity in all 3 of the systems, something that's just totally unexpected as a result, and of this shock they knew they tried to change the power settings on the number two engine in the tail, and it was the throttle was frozen. They knew they were in deep trouble in that first 15 seconds, and they had to spring in engaged with trying to keep the right side up. And it wasn't easy. They were fearful of the aircraft simply rolling over and becoming totally uncontrollable. And they tried to adjust the throttles a little bit, and they found some limited success. They did not lose complete control, but they recognized that they were descending. They realized that they were rocking back and forth up to 45 or 50 degrees in either direction, and they were out of control. And they got on the radio and explained that to a lot of people, and that would be the FAA people and the United Airlines system managers that got on the line. And the United people couldn't believe it. They said, you can't lose all the hydraulic systems. There's no procedures in the flight manual for this. And they said, well, you're just going to have to believe us. That's where we are. And Al Haynes, the captain, had 30 more than 30 years experience. He used his best crew resource management techniques to control the airplane for the first 15 minutes. And then God sent somebody from the cabin, a off-duty captain who was a DC-10 captain and a simulator instructor, to give a note to a flight attendant saying, tell the captain I'm back here and I can come up and help him. And of course, that invitation came immediately, and Captain Denny Fitch entered the cockpit 15 minutes after they had suffered this explosion. And for the next 30 minutes, he was given the charge to manipulate the two engines, one on the left and one on the right, and see if he couldn't keep that airplane upright and direct it to an airfield that was suggested by the FAA. The Sioux City airfield was recognized as a good place to go in this emergency, and Captain Denny Fitch kept the process going to get them there.
That's truly amazing how they managed it, and it's really extraordinary because this situation cannot be trained, because it's inconceivable that anything like that could happen. But from your perspective, what were the main factors that contributed to the survival, actually, of those 185 passengers despite such a severe crash landing? When you departed Washington, if I understood you correctly, you did not believe, or could not believe that there would be any survivors. This will be a full disaster, a complete crash. But still, so many people survived. So, what were the main factors from your perspective?
Well, there were so many factors, and they've been recognized by aviation enthusiasts all along. But the surviving captain, Captain Al Haynes, used the term luck. He said there were just so many things that came about as pure luck in getting the airplane to the ground, and it started with their own recognition of being out of control in the air, having experienced this explosion, and being able to, in a minor way, control the oscillations of the aircraft using the wing engines. So he and his crew formed that attitude toward, we can make some control manipulation. And Then when Captain Fitch entered the picture, it that added into the crew management somebody who could really relate to the true control of the two wing engines to get the airplane to do what they really wanted it to do, which was descend without wandering aimlessly all over the world and to get it back into the area of the Sioux City airspace. So the discovery of the aircraft control by the initial crew and then the appearance of Captain Fitch was fantastic in the survival, because now they're going to go to an airport. And amazingly, think about if the situation had happened over the ocean, maybe 3 or 4 hours over the ocean, or along the mountains of any country, including the Rockies of the United States. If that had occurred over a mountainous terrain, we wouldn't have seen this kind of recovery at an airport. How about the weather? The weather that day was cloudless. There was no in-flight turbulence that discouraged them from taking their initiatives in control. They could locate the airfield of Sioux City from 20 miles away, and instead of having to put it in the context of a thunderstorm over the top of the airfield. Another thing that took place is time. This thing occurred in the afternoon. It occurred at 3:16 in the evening in the air, and it was a Monday, and Captain Fitch entered the cockpit at 3:30. Well, the air traffic people had notified Sioux City Airport. And Sioux City Airport had a very active crash fire rescue practice, and they had an Air National Guard group that was drilling that very day, and they were just finishing up their drill. So the time shift was unbelievable, because doctors and nurses at the emergency hospital centers in Sioux City were just getting off shift, and a new shift was coming on. There was a double shift of emergency workers. There was a group of 200 airmen from the Air National Guard that had participated in a rescue of what do we call it, a dry run practice for a air crash at their airfield 2 years before. So they were all present and able to be witness to this crash and the aftermath. Then the fact that Sioux City is a small city of 70,000, but it's a residential area for a tri-state Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota group of medical practices that operate a big health center and a big hospital, St. Luke's and the Marion Health Center. Those things were double staffed because of the shift change. And then the fact that the gentleman that handled emergency services for Sioux City, Gary Brown, he had been present and was still doing these drills and organizing emergency services in that Sioux City community in a very active way that was able to facilitate everything that was needed for the rescue of those many, many survivors and the care of those many people that unfortunately were deceased.
That perished. More than half of those passengers on board survived this tragic
I think it was
accident.
62%.
Hmm.
62% of the people, many of them with the very serious injuries that if they hadn't received immediate health care at the medical center, it would have expired. So it was so fortunate in the litany of things that I just described and that Captain Al Hames described as the good luck that was with him that day.
A lot of positive coincidences that protected a lot of people, actually. Still, 111 people died and perished on this accident, 185 survived. I mean, learning on the fly and trying to handle a situation like that. What did the manufacturer say? This is impossible because it's a 1 in a million chance that everything, all three hydraulic systems would break at the same time, and that they will lose control and would be able only to handle this airplane with two of three remaining engines. It's amazing how they were able to steer the airplane to the airport, descending to the appropriate height and trying to land it on the runway. It's from my perspective as a pilot, it's unbelievable and never heard of before. So it's really amazing. It's interesting when looking at the error chain and looking for the error one, where it all started. So it's a metal fatigue problem, or a metallurgical issue with the titanium fan disc, where it all started. Then the hydraulic system were all broken, couldn't be used anymore, and still they were able to make it to the runway. Now, coming to the lessons learned and changes in aviation, what were the most significant safety improvements implemented after your investigation?
Well, this accident investigation was a treasure trove of safety recommendations for all of the participants, particularly the staff in the NTSB and the FAA that were responsible for my being able to write this report together with all their inputs. And we looked at the non-destructive inspection process, formed all sorts of specialized activities to evaluate why those multiple investigations and looks had not seen that crack in the metal, and looking all the way back to the refinement of the titanium in the manufacturer's facilities. This was something that the manufacturers needed that motivation to move into a more efficient triple mounted, triple vacuum melt process for the refinement of the titanium. Aircraft designers needed to look at the possibility of backup. Was there a way to get this crippled airplane under better control? And I remember Dale Warren, the vice president of engineering for Douglas, said, "Well, we think we've got a check valve that we can put back there in the tail, someplace protected, that'll give you a get home hydraulic system." And he told the Senate Committee for Commerce and Science and Transportation about it, and they promptly admonished him to say, "Why haven't you already done it?"
True.
But that's the kind of thing, the dispersal pattern of the debris in the tail. How could we better predict and protect that dispersal pattern? The fact that this piece of equipment had gone through a manufacturing process all the way from the day it was melted until the day it fell apart. We had records discrepancies. We had to deal with parts that had been separated from what's called a billet of titanium. And we had two mislabeled parts. Of course, they were the part. One of them was the part that failed. Then the restraint in the airplane of passengers. And this is a real subject that still stays with us today. How do we take care of lap children?
Hmm.
How do we take care of young adults that only weigh 80 or 100 pounds? Is the safety belt adequate? Is there any seat for them? And we know that that's still a current problem. And that was dealt with us by our safety recommendations. And last but not least, there's a little farmer in everybody. That airfield was used to raise corn.
Hmm.
And corn in Iowa grows to about 8 feet tall. And that impeded people being rescued, and it impeded people who escaped from the airplane, who literally escaped and had nowhere to go because that corn was in the way and they had no directional clue as to how to get out. So that even spawned some safety recommendations about how to put flora and fauna in the airfields so that they're compatible with the rescue process.
Yeah, I remember there were really cornfields right next to the runways. Is that correct?
That's right. They're right
Wow.
next to
Okay.
the runway,
Wow.
and we certainly saw that right away that was going to be an impediment.
Okay.
But as you go further in and find out that people who survived a crash can't figure a way out of there, that was even more fantastic, really.
Hmm. Hmm. I bet. I bet. I mean, I know that the cornfields that farmers love to use them as a maze as well. Try to find out and get paid for this. But this during evacuation, I've never thought of that. But that's a nightmare. You know,
It,
just surviving and don't know where to go.
Yeah, exactly. And it was still daylight, but there was a lot of fire and smoke and so on and so forth, people
Hmm.
injured, and they were faced with just like a forest of corn. The
Hmm.
industry continued on with all these safety recommendations, and they continue today. 30 years later, the lessons learned of this accident continue to be in the mind of aircraft designers, in the mind of young engineers that read the history of lessons learned, and in some of the commercial activities that took place with subcommittees and so on that evaluated the occurrences of the Sioux City accident. And I see a list of 9 listed subcommittees and people in industry that spent several years bringing forth their knowledge up to what they learned from Sioux City. Today, we have artificial intelligence. Imagine what we can do with the inspection methods or
Hmm.
with the manufacturing methods using the AI of today in any of these situations. It's a wonderful, challenging situation. The FAA is well situated to use those resources to continue with the development of aviation improvements in safety in aviation.
Yes, but coming to this point, do you think the lap belt situation or the problem, the issue that you just mentioned, is still prevalent today? That the AI will help?
Well, we hope that people will be able to understand what goes on with the with the human factor.
Hmm.
How much can be replaced by some sort of reliable automated information, how much human factor can be incorporated in everything from the manufacture of the material uh, to the operator who is responsible to conduct an investigation with an in-service part that has come up for a time limit. It's performed 1,500 hours with no problem. Now, how do I approach that? What's my mental approach to wondering if there's something wrong?
Now, coming to a conclusion, were there any moments during the investigation that had a deep personal impact on you personally?
Well, yes, there were. There were. And I would tell you that in the process of investigating, we're motivated to find a cause, and we have to put that aside. That who's to blame? There must be a human in here someplace, and we have to put that aside because it's unfair. This was a combination not of that one employee looking at that disc from that airline. It was a combination of manufacturing, of design, of not paying enough attention to the possibilities that this could come apart. It was the decision that the FAA certification office felt they had been told this was a 10 to 1, a 10 million to 1 chance that this thing would pass all these gates and come apart. And then, last but not least, it came to the non-destructive inspection in United Airlines. So the investigation that I was in charge of wrote a report, and I wasn't very proud at the end when they said it was United Airlines' fault. I sided with member Jim Burnett, a former chairman of the safety board, the actual safety board member who was out there in Sioux City with me as I viewed that wreckage the first night and thereafter, and his assessment of the overall sequence of events that took place every one of those needed to be, I would say, investigated and dealt with in a very appropriate manner, rather than just saying who failed to do a job. There was a lot of multiple parties involved there. The other thing that I would say is an important lesson that I've never forgotten was my first look. That first look was really tough. I knew there were a lot of fatalities, and I knew we were going to have to keep the focus on finding all the safety initiatives that we could find to reduce the possibilities that might be out there that somebody might have to do this again. So those are the kind of the takeaways. My personal impact. I'm 35, almost 37 years later, and I haven't suffered PSD, but I've certainly got a lot of recollections of what went on.
It's amazing, Bob, how much you are remembering. What a vivid memory you got about this investigation, and letting us know what you experienced and what was the cause and what were the causes for this accident. I just got the investigation report in front of me, and as you just mentioned, Jim Burnett filed a dissenting statement, believing that the probable cause was number one, the manufacture of the GE engines, that the titanium alloy was defective, then the failure of the fatigue cracks at United Airlines, and then finally the Douglas Aircraft Company, that they couldn't perceive that there was a possibility of such a catastrophic failure from the number two engine, that all three hydraulic systems would fail at the same time. So this sums up pretty nicely.
I'd like to make a mention about that gentleman, Jim Burnett. What a wonderful chairman he was of the safety board for 6 years. And unfortunately, politics got in the way, and he was not renominated by the president and passed by the Congress, but he was willing to come and continue to serve his term and to come with me to Sioux City. And when it came time for the final assessment, he was a lawyer. He was a country lawyer from Arkansas, and he put his intellect into putting together that dissenting statement that you just addressed.
Excellent. All right, Bob. So thank you so very much. This concludes now our interview. I really appreciate all the time that you had and all the recollection and memory and how vividly you could describe that we could participate and trying to relive what you encountered and trying to understand what the investigation processes were, but also what the causes, the root cause, or the error one, or the error chain for the United Airlines 232 was. So, Bob, from all of us, thank you so very much for your time. We really appreciate that we had the opportunity to interview you with this. Thank you.
I'm going to put in a mention for 232 and Lawrence Gonzalez's book, because Lawrence interviewed all of us individually. He went out and interviewed all the passengers he could find for the 25th anniversary of the occurrence, and it's if you like to. I know we like podcasts, but we also like to read about some of the history, and Lawrence Gonzalez's book is fantastic.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I will put a link for this book and the description of this podcast episode. So
thank you so much.
Just click on the link and you'll find the book immediately. So Bob, thank you so very much. I really appreciate and enjoy your time now in Florida again. Thank you so much.
Okay, same for you. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Flight 232 was a tragedy, but it was also a moment of triumph, a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the power of teamwork. The aviation industry learned from this accident, ensuring future flights were safer for everyone. And that's it for this episode of my podcast, Error 1. If you found this story compelling, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. And remember, small mistakes can have massive consequences. If you want to learn more about this concept, you can now download my award-winning book, Error 1, or just visit www.error1.net. With this in mind, I say thank you very much. As we say in Germany, bleiben Sie sicher, stay safe, and talk to you next time.